What's up, Miami and basketball world? Welcome to another episode of Fast Break. We're a little delayed. We were just, I was producing the first episode of That's Outside. The guys did amazing. Much more content to come in the weeks to come, as the soccer world picks up again. But without further ado, introducing with me always, Justin Garfield from the West. How you doing, my man?
I'm exhausted. I've been traveling a lot, but D Wade is in the Hall of Fame and all is right in the world.
Perfect. Neil, with this new little time slot for our fellow our followers here. Obviously, typically we do this at 8:30. We slip back an hour to make way for That's Offsides. And obviously, in the off season, sporadically we're gonna do fast break. It's not on weekly. Obviously, when basketball starts picking up, but one of the original Goon Squad members, and this time slot is perfect for him. So we might see him more
Definitely.
often. Neil, how you doing, my man?
Doing good. Just saw Inter Miami
Yes,
take it
sir.
down, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Messi kind of brought me into the fan base.
Okay.
He's got me watching MLS, which I really never did before. Loving Inter Miami right now. They look like the best team in the league.
Oh,
They're gonna win the League Cup, the U.S. Open Cup, and they're gonna win the MLS Cup. They're gonna get there and they're gonna win, dude.
I don't think we'll ever
Listen,
lose again.
plus 750 right now for Inter Miami to win the MLS Cup. Get your bets in. Get
It,
your
it's
bets in.
it's insane because we talked about this when he first came. Obviously, you understand the pool that Messi has, not only financially and interest wise, but the talent alone. And then you combine that with Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, and now this is a whole new ball game. This is a whole new ball game for MLS because MLS has had a few players here and there, key free agents, marquee names, elder like the Beckham when he came, Ibrahimovic, a few here and there, but I don't think there's the amount of talent and that's been assembled, even
No,
overtime,
this is
for
insane.
core pieces, and
Yeah.
it just makes everybody better around you.
Yeah,
So it's
he
just
lifts
night and day.
everybody up.
Absolutely.
The goalkeeper was trash before they
Yes.
got there. Now he's
Yeah.
making saves. The young South Americans are playing well.
Yes. Yes.
You've got the homegrown Miami
Yes.
kids are
Yeah.
playing
I
good.
heard it.
Like it's just he lifts everyone up, and it's special because in soccer, I don't think you see this very often where
Not here. Not here.
one, two guys, three guys changes everything. It's insane.
And speaking about lifting up, we're gonna go to the top. The total
Messi is to
opposite.
Miami what Tom Brady was to Boston and Tampa. He lifted every sport up.
Exactly. That's 100%. And what I love about Messi is not only his talent. One thing that I respect, and people kind of not don't pay attention to it as much, but the way he's protecting his teammates. If you notice, every teammate that gets knocked down or anything, he's the first one that goes over there talking to the opposition, and you got to respect that as a warrior. You got
Oh
to
yeah,
respect that as a teammate. So that's something that it goes his leadership, not only his talent on the field on the pitch, but his leadership. And obviously, it just brings authenticity to the game, and it gives you an image. It does give you a certain different aura of who you are as a team, who you are as a league. So, and it's funny because the guys just talked about that. So I'll leave it for them. I don't want to take away their mojo. So, without further ado, obviously, the topic of discussion in the NBA, James Harden. James Harden just went. He kind of put the first codes of the nuclear bomb because he didn't go completely nuclear. But I think it's pretty much the most direct face-off I've seen a player do with management, without obviously, I'm not talking about the physical Latrell Sprewell with PJ Carlesimo or trade demands and then the public. This is calculated. It's a legit calculated incident. It's in China, and people understand the issues that Daryl Morey's had with China when the whole tweeting about free Hong Kong, and this was perfectly formulated for it to come out just in time for the morning shows, so it became a topic of discussion all throughout. So first and foremost, before we go into any details, I want to get your take, your raw take. How do you feel about this situation? Obviously, what precedes James Harden, who James Harden is, the situation with Daryl Morey, and then we can go more into detail. And I'll start off with you, Neil.
with who? Me or Justin?
Yeah, Neil, go. You go.
Okay, yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing you for some reason, but But I'm going to say this about James Harden. I mean, it appears that he's going to go full Brooklyn Nets James Harden from what I'm reading. And, I saw some – Clutch, I think, posted something on Twitter today or X today. Sorry, I'm never going to say X. But he posted something on X today saying that if the league, was so upset about, the comments surrounding Dame not wanting to, play for anyone else but Miami, when are they going to react to James essentially threatening the 76ers? Because, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a player come out like this as often as James Harden does. And this was just an escalation from his usual, I want to get out of there antics. But I mean, one of the questions you asked was what could be the fallout from all of this, right? Because I think that's the most important thing. And I mean, it really could be the demise of the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, you've got all that cap space in James Harden, and you're not going to move him, so you're not going to make the team any better. So then Tyrese Maxey, you're just going to keep burning out his contract. And then Joel Embiid's sitting there kind of well, you guys said that you would bring more players to help me out here, and now no one's coming, and we've got a disgruntled second or third option, I guess, right now. Mm-hmm. Tobias Harris obviously, maxed out. I don't see him getting any better. And PJ Tucker is older, and is not going to be as good defensively. And even PJ Tucker came out and agreed with James Harden. So this is a massive dysfunction going on. And is Embiid going to want to be a part of that? And I don't know if Embiid demands a trade like this season, although it could happen. But I think next summer, Embiid might be if it goes really bad, which it might, And then I guess really bad, what is it? I could see them being a fringe a playoff team, but not more than a 6th or 5th seed if it goes really bad, right? You know, I mean, I don't think they're going to be a play-in team, a 9th or 10th. I mean, I think they'll be a 7th at worst. Maybe an 8th. So I guess that's a play-in team. But I mean, that just would depend on if it gets really bad. But if it got that bad, Embiid might be get me up out of here. I'm only getting older and I want to win. And then the fireworks go off because, I mean, what does Joel Embiid command in a market when he's a distressed asset? I mean, it would be, and you know what, I don't hate Sixers fans, you know what I mean? Because the Sixers have a really good fan base. I mean, they're, they can be a lot, and how they treated Jimmy was ridiculous, and Jimmy proved them all wrong. But I mean, I don't think the fan base deserves this, and I really think that Daryl Morey probably is going to get fired, right? Because you're not going to lose Embiid, you know what I mean? And if it's between Embiid and Daryl Morey, see you later, Daryl Morey. Have a good one, and they'll just get some guy in there to keep Embiid happy, trade Harden. I mean, I don't understand why they just don't trade him. I mean, it's not what do you want for him? He's not that great anymore. Clearly he's good decent in the regular season, decent. I wouldn't say he's great in the regular season, but you can't depend on him in the playoffs. He's not going to be that guaranteed second option you need anymore. He's not 40 points a game James Harden. And honestly, his work ethic sucks. His character sucks. I mean, he's just not a good – the real cancer in the locker room in Philadelphia is James Harden. So, I mean, I think that it's time to cut bait with him. And I think you could sell Embiid on, hey, we're not going to get a lot for him, but we're going to open up some salary cap space for the summer to really make a move. Maybe you keep Embiid that way, but they got to move on from Harden or move on from Morey and then move on from Harden.
Justin, how do you feel, man?
Remember all the days when they clowned the Rockets for how horrible of an organization they were during the Harden years? Well, now
Yeah.
we're not just seeing that it was James Harden. We're seeing it really started from the top and trickled down. Hiring Daryl Morey. First off, if you know Daryl Morey like Houston fans do, you'll know that he's a very big analytics guy. He's part of the reason for the three-pointer becoming the staple of the basketball game because he realizes, hey, statistically, analytically, if you step back a few feet, this is an extra point. And this extra point would go a long way to helping you win the game, winning more games. And so he also, this is what really stood out, just seeing Harden say that on live video. And I had to really question myself, is AI getting this advanced where somebody created a fake video of James Harden saying
I did
this?
the same thing.
And
I did
again,
the same thing.
Today's day and age, you never know what is AI and what is not if it's coming from a higher up source. If it's a fan made thing, it's pretty easy to tell. So I legit question this for a second. Is this something that really happened? And then reading more into it, yes, this is something that happened this evening, I guess, in China, morning in the States. So yeah, where was I going with this? Yeah, so what I was going to say here was seeing a guy who Daryl Morey worshipped, evangelized since he traded for him in Houston in 2012, turning to this 11 years later, turning into Daryl Morey is a liar and I will never play for another organization that he's a part of. Just to see this relationship start from the beginning, seeing it like a love affair. And no matter what, Daryl would do anything for Harden.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he would build a strip club inside of the Wells Fargo Center if Harden asked him to.
Look,
and now to see it just soured out and him saying that, it was just a big, wow, shock to me to see how this is what relationships can really turn to over the years. And then I look at it from more of the storyline perspective of what's just happened in the last couple of months. And you see where both of them are coming from. You see that Harden, once again, doesn't deliver in the postseason. And then you see that Daryl Morey saying, hey, remember last year when we said you can just opt out next year and we'll give you a long-term deal? Well, yeah, about that. We're going to not do that. And so then Harden gets frustrated and says, fine, I'll opt in and trade me. So, because remember, Harden took a pay cut last year.
Mm-hmm.
So he could sign guys like PJ Tucker and the other veterans to make them more championship contender-able. Mm-hmm. I just invented a word. And then this year, of course, a couple months ago, like I just said, Harden was like, hey, wait a minute. You said you were going to give me a long-term deal. Moore's like, no. And then he's like, fine, I'll opt in, but you better trade me. And then nobody wants him. I guess the Clippers, what I'm hearing is the Sixers wanted Terrence Mann. The Clippers said no. That's all it took. And so if you're the Clippers, Harden's still a good player, and he's great, a proven great person, great scorer as a number 3, which he would be in LA. So would you possibly be kicking yourself if you're the Clippers for not taking the deal and giving Terrence Mann up? And now, because none of that happened and they decided to take Harden off the market, here we are today. Mistrust everywhere. It's just like the Houston Rockets all over again, except they're not catering to Harden's every move. They're trying to keep Embiid happy this time.
And one thing, I'm gonna. There's many layers to this, and I know I was thinking about it since it came out yesterday, and I started this deciphering. I'm like, okay, what would it take for James Harden to do this? Because yes, we understand James Harden, and unfortunately, his reputation precedes him. So it's happened in Houston, it's happened in Brooklyn. He didn't ask out of OKC. OKC honestly didn't want to give him his contract, so he was just shipped off at the time because they picked Westbrook and Durant. So that I understand. The one thing I always go back to, number one, I'm like, if we would have switched players, if Dame Lillard would have said that, and I know I jokingly did it on Twitter and all that, but I was like legit, after I did it, I legit question, I was like, if Dame Lillard would have done this, no one would have questioned it because of Dame Lillard's character. There's no pre-existing notion of, oh, he's just doing this again. He just wants out again. So I tried to judge it, and Neil, with you being a lawyer, obviously the mindset of you want to judge every case differently. You don't want to jump to a conclusion just because it's the person. So I sat down and I'm like, okay, James Harden directly calls out his general manager and calls him a liar. And I'm like, oh, whoa. This could go. This could go many. This could blow up right now because we all know about wink deals. And I'm like, if the NBA catches on to this, which obviously they understand, and I'm pretty sure everybody in league circles knew it was going to happen because a player doesn't make a statement like this without first trying to privately get his way, move his location, or like you mentioned, the fact alone that he took a pay cut last year, Justin, and the fact that he opted in, you do that in communication with your team. He's not going to opt in if he doesn't want to be there. Obviously, he can opt in to force a trade, or he can opt in because they talked about it and they're like, look, just opt in. We'll move you to a spot where you want because I'm not going to give you a long-term deal. So those conversations, I'm assuming, already happened. But he makes these statements, and I'm like, okay, now this is going to create a face-off because when you publicly call someone a liar, you're creating a statement where prove me wrong. So either him or Daryl Morey, one of them is lying. Now we come to understand when the thing that really validated it for me was when PJ Tucker came out and basically wrapped his arm around James Harden and said what he's saying is true. He's validating it. And then Joel Embiid has been quiet on the situation. I know on Twitter he took out processing the Philadelphia from his location. So people could read all into this. But I'm like, a fellow player on that team is stating that this is accurate. So it comes down to reputation of James Harden. I'm like, if it's anybody else, how do we take it? How do we interpret it? Do we have any validity in it? Or like, why is he coming out? And I'm like, this is just the first step. James Harden, like you said, he did it firsthand in Houston. I understand the situation wasn't as ideal for him in Houston. The way he handled it, it shouldn't have been handled that way. But we understand he can come and be disgruntled. But I do like the fact that Kyrie Irving came out and said about why is he disgruntled, and because it's true. Every time we see one of those things, a player demands something, automatically it's put on the player. Oh, the player's not happy. He does, but we don't know what these general managers are talking to these players about. Like the whole situation with Dame Lillard and John Cronin, and it does tie up to Miami some way somehow, and I'll explain later on because it's one of my theories with the whole Dame situation. But ideally, for James Harden, for the team to save face, most likely the number one option is fire Daryl Morey, because I don't know how much of the owner is dependent on Daryl Morey and trusts him blindly, but Philadelphia, and obviously not everyone's a big fan of Sam Hinkie. I understood what he was doing and while he was tanking. It was horrible for the game, but he did stockpile an insane amount of assets. What Philadelphia has done with their assets, mismanaging drafts, missing out on trades, misusing everything they had at their disposal. Like you said, they're about to end up with absolutely no one. That whole tanking process and trust the process is going to be a no-show. Just maybe Tyrese Maxey max out of here because it's only a matter of time. Joel Embiid is a ticking time bomb if you don't correct this. So, and there's many ways. There's not many ways you can correct this, and especially when you have Harden on contract. So, out of those three options, because ideally you're not going to offer James Harden a max deal right now in the current state. He's not going to take one. So your best bet is either call his bluff, let him show up to camp. You're going to have a disaster media day. You're going to have a disaster PR situation. So ideally, what do you think is a resolution here? Fire Morey or trade Harden? Neil, I'll go with you first.
I mean, if you're talking about a resolution for this conflict that's going on, I think firing Morey is the first thing that has to happen because Morey's the one that doesn't want to trade Harden. So you fire Morey, but you've also got to trade Harden if Philadelphia wants to be any better than they are now, because you keep Harden there, just gotten older, you know what I mean? Like, and he's still not very motivated as a player. Like, this is the guy that, takes off during the week to go to Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have what it takes, mentally to win a championship and be a part of a championship winning team. He just doesn't. So you got to fire Morey first, make all the other players happy, and then trade Harden. Because I think the players would be fine with Harden gone. They just don't like Daryl Morey treating a teammate of theirs badly and lying. They don't like that. You can't mess with these guys' money. You know what I mean? Like, players don't like that. And if they see that you're messing with one of the players' money, they feel like you do that to them too. You lose their trust at that point. Yeah. So, and if you're not going to make promises that you're going to keep as a general manager, you're useless to them. So I think you got to fire Morey first, and then you got to trade Harden.
And it's insane to me, man, how in one offseason I'm seeing two GMs handle similar situations differently, but both I think are going to be out of a job in less than a year.
Oh yeah, Vernon will be out of a job soon too. Yeah,
I cannot fathom. Like, honestly, man, I'm watching this. What do you call this? I'm watching the James Harden video over and over, and I'm like, dude, this guy legit just called out his GM.
Yeah,
and then he repeated it just to make sure. Like someone was like, hey, if you didn't hear me clearly, I'm gonna say it again. This guy's a fucking liar. Like, he was just straight up said it like that. I'm like, that's number one.
Changed his career. I mean, just ended Morey's career.
You cannot, and a lot of things starts making sense, because obviously Miami for a long time, Miami has always been accused by many people of having wink deals, especially with Wade and all these situations. Sometimes it blows up on you, and even Pat Riley acknowledged that's one of his number one mistakes. When LeBron James left, he should have maxed Wade automatically. He should have maxed Wade and Bosh. But they always expected Wade to work with them. Wade would opt in, a 1-year, 2-year deal, opt out again. You sign a free agent, then you go over the cap to sign him, and they repeated the process over and over. But the whole situation with Harden, like I said, it's insane to me that Harden is still productive. This is the part that baffles me. Harden seems to be a player that doesn't care, because he was a decent team defender many years ago with Houston. He just stopped caring on that side of the ball. So he cannot be your primary or your secondary option. Now, Harden, and this is, like I said, this is with no Dame situation. If Harden, Justin's back in. Let me put him back in here. We missed you, man.
Me too.
We missed you.
Yeah, for any of you guys out there with some deeper pockets, my Cash App is $sign Justin Garfield, or better Wi-Fi router.
improve all the electronics and technology around the network. But what I was mentioning, to me, it's incredible, and it baffles me how Harden is still a productive player. Harden has averaged 10 assists plus the last 3 to 4 years. People don't see that, and this is the one thing I do take away from the aspect of the reputation. I've never heard a player complain about James Harden. I don't know. I might be wrong. I might have not seen a report, but I don't believe any of his teammates or Justin, have they ever? You were there in Houston. You're a Houston fan. Was there any direct player complaint in regards to James Harden, aside from, I understand jealousy or people not respecting their role, but has there any been a complaint as a teammate or a competitor from James Harden from the players level, or has it always been this? I'm making my way out of town, so I got to find a way to get out of here.
It was always what flared up after the season failed in the end, because then you heard rumblings from Chris Paul. Then you heard rumblings from Dwight Howard, things like that.
Okay.
If Russell Westbrook, you didn't hear much of. They were just ready to get rid of him, and so they did after just 1 year. And just seeing what Daryl did to Houston, just trying to desperately hold on to his job or do whatever when he did make the Russ trade, and then went all small, which was probably the dumbest thing that he's ever done. In the middle of the COVID season, decided to give away Clint Capella for
that was the worst move
in the end.
Yes.
And so they had no big guy. PJ Tucker, 6'5", was the center.
Yeah. Did Tony still the coach at that time or no?
He was. Yep, that was the end of his tenure. Because then that fall, Steven Silas was hired and Russ was shipped out of town for John Wall.
You see, those are the things here. With Daryl Morey, when he got to Philadelphia, I automatically knew. I'm like, this guy's going to do the same thing. He's going to trade away all their depth. And honestly, I understand the situation with Ben Simmons, but you acquire Harden. Harden is still productive. Harden can still play in this league, but it does stunt. Like when you acquire James Harden, to me, Philadelphia they stunt part of Maxi's growth. And Maxi still is on a level. He's ascending as a player, but you can build around Maxi and Embiid. You traded Ben Simmons, go younger, but you know Morey's going to go back to his old ways. And now, what's even insane to me, they have a new head coach in Nick Nurse. There has to be a level of miscommunication because as you're a head coach, when you come in and you interview for the job, you have an idea of what the organization wants to do, how they're going to proceed, who you're going to pursue. So this from left field, there had to have been conversations with James Harden where if he's asked to opt in, obviously you're getting that guaranteed money because the market did dry up with Houston. So I do understand that part. Like James Harden used Houston legit as a negotiation tactic to try to get a max contract from Philadelphia. I assume that was the case. The moment Houston goes and gives that money to Van Vliet and Dylan Brooks, that is off the table. There's really no other team with cap space to sign you outright. Maybe the Lakers. That's not going to happen. So these conversations are ongoing. When you opt in, I'm pretty sure it's with the understanding that, okay, we're going to work on a trade together or I want to go here. So the moment it came out public, I'm like, oh, man, this is only going to – the moment Daryl Morey states that we're not going to trade James Harden, you're automatically waiting for a response. Did we expect a response of this magnitude? No, we didn't. Obviously, you expected, okay, maybe we'll work something out here and there, but now it's just a cat and mouse game. So now it just comes back and forth, and now I'm pretty sure the league is going to start investigating. I know when Clutch mentioned that, we were DMing, and I'm like, when the Heat does this, obviously it's top news. Why? Because the whole Dame Lillard situation, and Dame Lillard, if legally he hasn't done anything wrong, he's never stated, and it's true. Obviously, you have the wink, wink, but he's never stated, I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to go play something. I'm not going to not go play. I was like, my preferred destination is Miami. So it's a way of controlling the market and creating leverage. What James Harden is doing is creating leverage for himself because of the location where he did it, calling out Daryl Morey because now it's crazy that James Harden is basically putting his reputation against Daryl Morey's reputation, straight up, which I'm pretty sure James Harden doesn't care, man. When you have all that money in the world and you can do whatever you want, you just want to go play wherever you want to go play. So I understand from that perspective and how people can be upset at that. Now, I do want to dissect what do you base yourself to call Daryl Morey a liar? So, Justin, I'm going to go back to you. In Houston, were there rumblings of Daryl Morey as an executive where he was deceiving to players, to coaches, or because to me, you get the vibe when you look at him. He looks like that type of guy. I'm like, I respected Sam Hinkie, what he was doing. No one believed in him. And obviously, he's not going to get probably another GM job in the league ever again. But what they wanted to do, they executed it to perfection. Did they miss out on some picks? Yeah. Did they give up on some picks before they should have? Yeah, like Markelle Fultz. They completely gave up on him, and that was an asset. Ben Simmons, you misused him completely, and you basically had to trade him because psychologically he wasn't there anymore. So was there anything that Daryl Morey did in Houston that kind of was a precursor to this, relationship-wise? Or this is a surprise to you, hearing it for the first time?
The answer is yes. You go back to 2013 when they were talking about bringing Dwight Howard in. Guess who that pissed off? Omer Ashik, who was the team's starting center at the time.
Yes, that's true.
He wasn't happy about it. Then in the playoffs, they're awkwardly starting both of them as a Twin Towers duo against young Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge, who were torching them left and right. Didn't work. And then Lillard knocks them out with the famous shot. And then Omer Ashik is gone. And then that same time, the Chandler Parsons situation in 2014, when they were like, we're going to go look for another star. So we're going to let you hit restricted free agency, but don't worry, we're going to match you no matter what. And then Mark Cuban comes in from about 4 hours north in Dallas and says, hey, Chandler, take this $15 million a year check from us for 3 years. And so they had 3 days to match it, and we were just waiting in Houston. We were waiting and waiting and waiting, and then when the clock struck 12, they didn't match. And so he went to Dallas, and now I saw why, okay, well, Chandler is putting Houston down. Maybe he's not trying to sour a relationship with one specific person. It's just all about, I'm here in Dallas. It's much cleaner here. They're paying me a lot of money to say this stuff. And then going along too, eventually they were trying to trade Dwight. Nothing happened. I remember years ago I was working out here in LA at a juice place, and in walks Ryan Anderson. It's like Daryl Morey is an interesting one.
That's well. Also, Chris Paul is true. Chris Paul just mentioned that Daryl Morey had told him that don't worry, I'm not trading you to OKC, and legit like a day later traded him to OKC. So like at this point, like I understand there's obviously I understand the GM game and I understand how it works, but there's a level of respect with players that you need to have because at the end of the day, you're business partners. I've never seen this as a executive with a player and the coach with a player. You're business partners because that player is going to produce for you on the court. What he produces for you on the court and what he says about you is what creates the aura for the team. It creates your reputation around the league, and people respect that. So I was really surprised when he got the Philadelphia job. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't expect Daryl Morey to get another job in the league. I don't know if it's connections. At that point, I think Ruben was still the owner, or he already had sold part of his ownership from the Sixers because that's when kind of like the Sixers were thriving. And then Embiid was obviously was off the injuries. He was got his first max deal. So you
Also,
kind of
when
saw
Brian Colangelo was the GM, and so
exactly.
remember the league forced Sam Hinkie out and installed Brian Colangelo. He got fired because of a burner Twitter account, and then Elton Brand got hired, and then Elton Brand hired Daryl Morey after he resigned in Houston as the president of basketball operations.
Basketball operations. That's true, and it's crazy because it's true. The league appointed Jerry Colangelo, his dad, and then the dad hired Brian Colangelo as the GM of the team. And and honestly, I respected his moves. I love Brian.
Brought in Jimmy Butler. He got rid of Markelle Fultz.
Those are the things. Like even the Jimmy Butler situation. And look, that's a comparison too, because obviously we got Jimmy now, and like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I understand the reputation that comes with being a James Harden. Now, this situation, unfortunately, he could be on the right. And no one's going to believe him in the media. No one's going to believe him as a player because why? Oh, that's James Harden. He just did that in Brooklyn. Now, I take back also, I'm like, when he got to Brooklyn, out of all those players, the one that changed his game the most was James Harden. He accommodated to KD and Kyrie. And then I started seeing the whole situation with Brooklyn. I'm like, yeah, James Harden was the first one to go. But I'm like, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant basically did the same thing in Brooklyn. So there was a situation with management in Brooklyn for all three of them because they both asked out right after he left. So I'm not trying to diminish, obviously, the pushing out. The one that's always going to be an eyesore was the Houston situation, the way he left Houston, the way they treated him, because he was a king over there. He could do, which you can say was the doomsday for Houston because they let him get away with everything.
Too much, man. They let him get away with too much.
Those are things that even LeBron in Miami couldn't do it. Like you gotta have parameters, man. Like as an organization, as a championship coach organization, as any hierarchy, you need any organization that has a set hierarchy, you need to have certain levels of guidelines, respects, and repercussions if you don't follow through. But I compared a lot to Jimmy Butler, and the reason I say this is because before we got Jimmy in Miami, he didn't get a max contract in Chicago. Why? Because people thought he was a tough case. Like they didn't want to deal with him. They don't think he was a max player. He gets traded to Minnesota. In Minnesota, he makes a stink of the situation. He goes nuclear. He does the interview with Rachel Nichols. He gets to Philadelphia. He has problems with Brett Brown, but he produced in Philadelphia. Philadelphia decides not to give him a max contract. So he didn't fit anywhere else. He comes here. He fits like a glove because of the culture, because of who he is, tenacity, the heart. My scenario here that I want to throw up because I was thinking about this and basketball wise, I think it makes sense. People might call me crazy, but fully hypothetical, 100% hypothetical. I do believe the Dame Lillard situation will be resolved. I do believe Dame Lillard will be a Heat close to training camp. I genuinely believe that.
He has to be.
At this point because. If not, Blazers are setting themselves up for a mega delusional fan base of complete chaos in training camp.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous.
PR nightmare.
It would be ridiculous.
PR nightmare.
And a quick shout out to our boy Clutch. I know he's not here for getting on SportsCenter.
Yes, that's true. Our boy Clutch, man, he made it a SportsCenter with his. I'm telling you, I think it's day 45 already.
Day 45.
the moment he started doing that, I'm like, oh man, he's stuck now because he's committed. Clutch is committed. I'm like, he's gonna go on forever. I keep hoping that the beard gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I hope he's working on that, and the guy just gets
Yes.
depressed like more red. I'm gonna see if he. Hopefully he does that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
okay, hypothetical situation. We're gaming. We don't acquire Dame Lillard. You're presented with the opportunity to acquire James Harden, which
No.
at
Nope,
this point
nope,
is
no, no,
minimal
no.
cost. Hold on. Let me finish. My comparisons, the way I like to look at it is Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's on an expiring deal, so legit. It might be another pick, whatever the case may be. That's neither here or there. They give you the opportunity to trade Kyle Lowry and acquire James Harden. Do you do it, Neil?
I mean,
Think about
I
basketball.
think
wise. Think
Harden
about
is a
Jimmy Butler,
better. I think
Bam.
Harden is better than Kyle Lowry.
Oh, for sure,
He's better than Kyle Lowry,
hands down.
and he's better from the perimeter, which is helpful, and he can also play the point.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So there's that. So and he can get assists and such, right? I mean, he's not going to get any less than Kyle Lowry got. Okay, as far
No.
as assists go, you know what I mean?
No, at all.
He'll attract attention. Maybe he'll free up Duncan. Because Duncan will still be on the team. So
Tyler will still be on the team. You don't have
Tyler
to worry
Hero will
about
still be on the team. So free up Tyler Hero.
man. Okay.
Maybe Harden comes off the bench. You know what I mean?
Oh,
No,
I-
he'd
I-
start. He would
no,
start
he
because
starts.
we don't
He
have
starts
Gabe
right away.
anymore. I was
He
thinking we
starts
still
right
have
away.
Gabe. We
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
So he comes off the bench. He'll start. That's fine. I guess I wouldn't hate it as a last ditch, effort. Like all else fails, like Harden Kyle Lowry swap. Okay.
And this is another, Justin. I'll add another layer to this because the reason I thought about this and this I legit just thought about it sitting down. I didn't hear anything. I'm not reporting anything. Nothing. I don't know any of those sorts. I don't have any sources anywhere. I'm just here thinking basketball wise. I'm like, wait a second. Okay, Kyle Lowry, Philadelphia's home. Kyle Lowry is from Philadelphia. Okay, that's one option. He does have a relationship with Daryl Morey from I believe. Oh no. Daryl Morey wasn't in Houston when Kyle Lowry was still there. I don't believe.
I think
It
he
might
was
have been
right as he left.
right as he left. Okay, so I'm like, okay, he's on an expiring deal. James Harden has only said he wants to go to one destination, but he might be open to more options. Okay, that gives us another window. And I'm like, if this whole Dame situation comes out, even the Heat can use it as leverage with Portland. They're like, look, man, if you don't want to make this deal, I'm just gonna transfer over here, and I'm gonna acquire James Harden. I don't have to give up that much assets because he doesn't want to sign with Philadelphia. He's on an expiring deal, so yeah, I might have to give up a pick or two. Kyle Lowry, match salaries, perfect. And I'm thinking about what is the deficiency in James Harden's game? Defense, effort. I'm like, all right, I can't have James Harden as my top guy. He's not my one or two option, but wait a second. I got Bam Adebayo. I got Jimmy Butler. I got Caleb Martin. I got Tyler Hero. I got Josh Richardson. I got Thomas Bryant now. I'm like, okay, I can see a James Harden situation, but obviously the number one thing that always comes up is in the locker room. Is he gonna be
Look,
a nutcase?
He better like Tootsies, okay? Because he's not.
Oh,
he's not going to Vegas.
Oh.
All right, to hit up the Spearmint or Dollhouse. All right.
Now
He better be okay with Tootsies. All right. That's
Justin,
it.
Justin, my crazy hypothetical that I throw at you, and this is out of left field. My thing is we acquired Dame Lillard. All right. We still haven't traded Kyle Lowry because one of the packages might be Hero, one of the young guys, a lot of picks, maybe a Caleb Martin. We don't know. You still got Kyle Lowry. Now you just traded for Dame, and you go ahead and you trade for James Harden too. Now you got Dame, James Harden, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. I'm like, is that a scenario that you would entertain? 100% hypothetical, but you can tell me straight up, would you do that?
If he's gonna stop flying to Vegas and he's gonna like really give it a serious go, I mean, but I mean, at that point, then he's your backup point guard, okay? But he's making a ton. I mean, are we gonna cut some salary here? Like,
Well,
is he
that's
gonna?
the thing. No, salary wise, it works because
Because we give up Kyle.
Yeah, we're giving up Kyle. We're giving up Tyler Hero.
So it all
we're giving up
matches, I
Caleb
guess.
Martin. So salary's gonna work. It's just a fit, and I'm like, it could be a moment, a situational advantage where Miami comes in and jumps the gun. because I understand the conversation, and that's why I asked you, Justin. You lived it firsthand in Houston. But if there's an organization that can make this work, and I know we put a lot on Heat Nation and we put a lot on Heat culture, but if there's one organization that can make it work, I do believe it is us. So I'm not trying to be right or wrong. I don't care if I'm right. I don't care if I'm wrong. Just a fully hypothetical game. Would you do it, Justin? Would you go for that move?
In the end, if it doesn't work, Harden's a free agent next year. So the comes off the books. He can go wherever he wants. So if that is what Miami's looking to do and just offload an older guy and expiring deal and Kyle Lowry for him, I think the reward is much higher than the risk at that point, because then you bring in a lot of scoring prowess. You bring in a great passer too. If Dame Lillard comes in, he'll be your number one scorer most likely. And Jimmy and Bam, and of course Spo, Pat Riley, they're the staple of Heat culture. And the one thing we haven't seen in James Harden's career is he hasn't gone to a stable organization.
Thank you.
Yeah, a stable organization that will tell him no. Like LeBron had to answer to Pat Riley. In the end, I think that's why he left, because he didn't like answering to somebody. He wanted full 100% control. Well, guess who's in better position now, Cleveland or Miami?
Those are those are the things that you just made a valid point when it comes to a stable organization. But you can argue that Houston team with Chris Paul, they would have beaten the Warriors that year if it was Chris Paul that got hurt.
Yes.
So I know you lived it, man, and that team, and I know you guys went cold. There was what was it like? You were 1 for 27 from three. Was that game
27
7?
straight misses in the second
27
half.
straight misses in the second half. So I don't want to. I understand the media. I understand the prototypical response to this, but I like to dissect these problematic players on a case by case basis at times. And I genuinely believe, and I might be wrong 100%, but I believe James Harden is not in the wrong in this situation where because multiple players are backing him up, and I don't think it's only a sign of unity. When a guy in your own team, PJ Tucker, backs this up. Now, I'm pretty sure the moment people are waiting for is Embiid to say something. I know people are just waiting because based on what Embiid says, will determine what the Sixers do with Harden, with Morey, because like I said, this could be a game of cat and mouse, and Morey's just standing there trying to call his bluff. I want to see what Morey has responded. Has Morey given an official response as of now, or nothing yet?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Nothing.
That's interesting, man.
Nothing from the Sixers.
Dude, bro, this could be a domino, and this could be one of those like weekend things where everything goes haywire, where your organization was fine, and within 3 days everything is to shit. Like everything is just a 180. Yeah. That is wow, man, and it's crazy because now, kind of Dame becomes the backup story. Like Dame is now the Dame to Miami. Kind of it takes away from the limelight,
which could be a positive and a negative, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So I'll end it on that. I'll end it on that note. We're on 45-minute mark almost. How do you think we resolve the Dame situation? Because like I said, we're probably not going to be on next week. We're probably on 2 weeks. So if you guys are available, we come back and we'll retouch upon this. So there might be James Harden might be now. If a trade happens, obviously we'll come back on next Tuesday and we'll discuss it. But how do you feel this? How do you feel this affects Dame's situation directly, negotiation wise? Compensation wise, do you think there's any correlation?
I'm not sure there's any correlation yet. I think there might be correlation if, offers for James Harden ever became known. Like, what were the Clippers really offering him? Like, it seems they weren't really offering anything.
No.
Because he was also a distressed asset. I don't think we're there yet to where they impact the other. Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned it earlier. They're two different character traits. They're perceived differently in the NBA. They mean more to their current team. They're just so different.
And there has to be some sort of leverage where it's crazy. Like the Sixers don't want to trade James Harden. The Blazers want to trade Damian Lillard, but they're stuck in the situation where the optics is they're basically going to give him up for nothing, essentially. But at that point, the Blazers have to. The whole thing with this is the risk and reward because you can be an asshole and take this into training camp or into the season. If Dame Lillard gets hurt, you're done because no one's going to trade you anything for that contract. So those are the things that you run this risk of like, what am I really doing? And now you might want to take Dame Lillard into the season and not play him because you want to get a high draft pick. That's what Portland wants to do. They want at least one more high draft pick. They're going to acquire multiple picks. The picks from Miami are not sexy because they're always in the mid 20s. We understand that. So I've never been a big fan of those takes like, oh, we're going to trade you 4 first round picks. It all depends where those picks come from. If I get 4 first round picks from Charlotte, okay, they're going to be probably lottery picks, late teens, maybe always in the late single digits. But you take that into play, and I'm like, is it worth it for Portland to take Dame Lillard into training camp? Okay, I could see him trying to do it, but it's pointless. Now, is it worth it for the Sixers to take Harden into training camp?
Hell no.
That's a big no because Philadelphia has a lot to lose, man. You're right.
They gotta let that go.
And honestly, as a coach, I can't imagine Nick Nurse walks into the situation and you're like, how is it gonna end up? Now I keep looking for random teams that might make a play for James Harden because he is on an expiring deal. So like, if does the Cleveland pop up and trade for James Harden? Does New York come up and trade for James Harden? Those are the things that like I'm like I wonder if that comes to fruition. But Justin, I'll end it with you. Do you think Dame's situation is getting clearer after the James Harden scenario, or do you feel that it will correlate and somehow? I'm not saying they're going to intertwine and be part of a same deal, like a 4 or 5 team deal, but does one package, let's say if Harden gets traded first, does that kind of play into effect with Dame Lillard, or are there going to be 2 separate scenarios either way?
It's a little bit different in my eyes. I relate this Dame situation more to Kevin Durant last year when he demanded a trade during the summertime. Although Dame's team is clearly rebuilding and ready to move on, Brooklyn's was like, hey, wait a minute, Harden just got traded. I want to get traded now. I want to be in the desert and get a nice home out there, not this crammed up apartment I have in Brooklyn, New York. And then Brooklyn was still in contention at that time, but Kyrie was Kyrie. You don't know when he's going to show up or not to work physically. So with James Harden, either A, he takes the Ben Simmons route and doesn't show up, or B, he goes the Houston route and puts the fat suit back on.
That's the option. And I've never seen an organization convince a team. They asked this question the other day. I forgot where it was. I don't know if it was in 5 Reasons or I forgot what I was listening to. And they're like, has there ever been a situation where a player has demanded a trade and been convinced to come back to the team that he demanded a trade from and actually be successful? And I'm like, I kept thinking about it. The only one I think that worked out was Kobe Bryant. When Kobe asked to be traded from the Lakers, and then he was supposedly going to the Bulls almost, that his wife was looking at homes and everything, and then they traded Shaq, and they gave Kobe an extension. So that's the only scenario I remember a player actually publicly demanding a trade. And I don't know if he officially did or not. I know he went on the radio show. I forgot what radio show it was, but he did demand a trade. And I'm like, I looked at the Brooklyn situation, and I'm like, they demanded a trade, then they rescinded it, that we're going to go into the season. But you knew that Steve Nash was going to be fired at any given moment. That was the only way that was going to work that season. So when they fired Steve Nash, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. They're on a hot streak. Kyrie, I think, was hurt at the time. He missed some time. But I'm like, then they come back and they both get traded. So I'm like, wow, that's just a whole shift. And they came out, I think, for the situation that they were in, they got a decent package in return from Phoenix. Now, I don't see that playing out with Harden because, like I said, you really don't have any leverage if he doesn't want to go somewhere. If he doesn't not going to sign an extension, they're not going to get max assets. So that's why I felt intrigued by it. I want to see how it develops because I do believe it could be a nice backdrop to us. But I'll tell you this, and we'll end it on this note. Neil, who gets traded first, Harden or Dame?
Damn, probably Harden, sadly. It sucks, dude.
It sucks, but it's
Because
true,
I think
man.
Morey's probably going to get fired this week.
That's
And then
that's another one. When do you think? How long do you think Daryl Morey lasts?
he's
Justin?
going to be gone this week. I mean, the
This week, Neil?
organization can't take that black eye for too long.
That's
You know, they'll fire him this week, and then Harden will be gone.
and what intrigues me is that he hasn't said anything. And you know this. When someone doesn't say anything publicly, they're talking. PR,
Oh, yeah.
front office, they're lawyers. They're talking and like, what do we do? Because once we say this is it. This is our message to Joel Embiid. This is the message to Philadelphia. This is the message to the NBA. Because now, also, that's another part you're talking about. You got PJ Tucker under contract. You used James Harden to get PJ Tucker. You gave him this 3-year deal at max at the max mid level. So now you have a player under contract that is siding with a player that just demanded a trade. So that whole roster is going to blow up if this goes down. So Justin, your take: who gets traded first, James Harden or Dame Lillard?
Wishful thinking says Dame Lillard. I think the Philadelphia situation is just going to get nastier and nastier by the day. And I think Morey's gone first before Harden is, like you said, Neil.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's all I got to say.
Well, man, this is. I understand the Joel Embiid rumors are going to start too. If Joel Embiid even demands a trade, it could get interesting. And that could possibly shift our focus with Dame. We never know. It could shift. I don't think right now straight up we have the assets. But if Joel Embiid says I just want to go to Miami, that's another situation that we could look at. And but this is intriguing. And we don't have a show scheduled for next Tuesday, but we probably might have a show next Tuesday depending on how this plays out. So I want to thank you, Neil, for coming on. I'm happy this time change.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be
perfect.
great, man.
Awesome.
This is gonna be great.
Awesome. Perfect. Justin, also for you, I know you're in the West Coast, so it's not too late. You still have the rest of your evening, man. I appreciate you being on. And are you traveling anywhere this week or you're back at home?
I'm leaving for Scottsdale on Thursday for a bachelor party.
Oh, you see, that's not for work. That's for pleasure. I like that. Have you been to Scottsdale before?
I have, yeah.
Is it as nice as they say it is?
I mean, I haven't explored all of Arizona, a little bit. Scottsdale,
Okay.
I think, is the nicest part that I've seen.
Okay. I'm dying. That's one of my bucket lists. Scottsdale and Phoenix. And now, right now in the summer, because I know I'll probably die. But
Yep.
I don't know. By the way, how's the heat index over there in San Antonio, Neil? And for
Oh,
you,
dude, it's crazy right now. It's 100 something every day.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, the other day we
Yeah,
had.
I'm going to the
115.
preseason game, Dolphins and Texans, and
And Texas.
and it's gonna be so hot in that stadium.
Oh man, dude, it's crazy. The other day I was walking in the.
I'm
soccer
worried
field
for the
by park.
players. Actually, I am. I mean, it's hot in
That's-
Miami. It is hot in Miami, so I think that the Dolphins will be fine. But I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know if it's like this, man, over there.
Well, yesterday we had a heat index. I believe here there's a heat warning. The heat index was I think like 115 yesterday or the day before. And the problem is some of our players, like in the high school that I coach, it's artificial turf outside, like that
So
artificial
it's just
grass.
hot, it's scalding.
Oh
hot.
my
Yeah.
God, it is scalding hot, and it hurts your skin. Like it repels off. It hurts your skin. It hurts you to breathe. And I'm assuming over there, I don't know, Houston, is it a little bit more drier air, or you still have a lot.
There's
of
a humidity. You're on the
Humidity?
water.
Okay.
So there's a lot of
Okay.
humidity.
So you're good. That's true. Okay.
But I mean, we've had heat advisories every day.
Every day, yeah. You guys just wake up and go to sleep sweating.
Dude, it's like 85 degrees right now, and it's 9:30.
Jesus Christ, man. We're just burning up. All right, man. Well, thank you, Neil. Thank you, Justin. Miami, we appreciate you. Heat Nation, like I always say, be patient. Philadelphia, I'm sorry for you guys, but I mean, it's a shit show. So we'll see how it ends up. Everybody, take care. See you next Tuesday, hopefully. Be safe. Peace out. And stay cool.